Well, I can let you all into a little secret. We were having a fascinating discussion before we went on air, but I guess we've got a match to talk about. A match that looked like a foregone conclusion for the longest time. And the result has ended up just like we thought, maybe about 3 or 4 overs later than it could have possibly been. So dominant were the former champions from Chennai. 173 for 3 with an over and a half to spare. To be fair, the gap was much, much wider than that. Superb platform laid by Ruturaj Gaikwad and Faf du Plessis, and Suresh Raina and Jadeja just finishing the job. Well, really, we've talked a lot about the first innings, which is when the match was set up. But one of the problems we suspected was the Hyderabad bowling. And we'll discuss that and much more on Cricbuzz Live, brought to you in association with our fantasy partner, My 11 Circle. Well, the triumvirate that was having that interesting discussion that was interrupted are back again. Gentlemen, Joy, Harsha, good to see you again. But I guess it won't be as fascinating or as interesting or as endearing. But the Hyderabad bowling was really responsible. We suspected it. Really, one bowler.
I so love Gautam trying to get away from an offline discussion and come back to the cricket somehow. I'll tell you what Hyderabad will find most disappointing about this performance, which is that they were shrugged off like you shrug dust off a duster. They were shrugged off like that. And that is what will hurt them. They made 171. As we always say, you never know a track until both teams have batted. We had no history of how this Delhi track's going to play. So we didn't know you couldn't tell for certain how good 171 was. From what we saw, I think they got shrugged off like that. And that is what will hurt them. That it looks like the margin was 9 deliveries, but as you said, the game was over long before when the openers put on 129 in 13 overs. And I think they really need to look at their bowling, because Rashid Khan is having to be Glenn McGrath and Shane Warne both put together in this team. And being one of those is tough. Being both is virtually impossible. I mean, you look at those numbers and say, okay, 3 for 36 from 4. But a lot of those runs came because the openers had been allowed to play themselves in very easily by then. And I think they look back, Sandeep Sharma, Khalil Ahmed, Siddharth Kaul. You look at those economy rates, okay, not that bad. What's he talking about? 6.85, 8 for Siddharth Kaul. They didn't trouble the batsman at all. And I think that is what will really trouble Hyderabad.
And the other thing, Joy, is they didn't have a cover for someone like Suchit. His first 2 overs went for a million runs. And this is the kind of situation, especially in a slightly tighter game, where you would have said, okay, sorry, mate, 2 overs for 30 or 2 overs for 25. Let's see who our 6th or 7th bowler is. They didn't have anyone to turn to. He had to bowl yet another over to compound the torture.
Yeah, they say foregone. I think foregone conclusion is a nice word to use under circumstances, because 4 bowlers had gone on holiday. There was just 1 bowler today. That was Rashid Khan.
What
4 bowlers were not. They didn't turn up today.
O'clock. I mean, you're normally quite a nice, witty person. What happens to you after 11 o'clock? 4 gone.
They were 4 gone. I mean, there was 1 bowler out there. I mean, the rest of them today will look back on this and said, I mean, 2 of these have played international cricket. I mean, Khalil has played, Siddharth Kaul has played international cricket. They look at this and say, what were we doing today? I mean, we did not trouble the batsmen. They did what they wanted to. They settled down. They sort of had breakfast on the crease, enjoyed themselves, played themselves in, got a few knockdowns, and then hit the target. I mean, they did not bother at all. And this is something that they'll really have to worry them, because if Bhuvi's got niggles and he's not going to come back, they have to do something to change this. And Suchit, I can understand. Once he's gone for 2, I'm wondering why Kedar Yadav was not used at all. I mean, he's supposed to be somebody. I mean, if Riyan Parag is now bowling
or Joy, just to add to that, Vijay Shankar. Yeah.
Why was Vijay Shankar not tried? I mean, none of your bowlers look like they're doing anything.
I think what happened with Vijay Shankar, though, was that because the openers had put on so many runs so quickly, he had to keep going to a bowler who he thought would give him wickets, not someone who would deliver him maybe a quiet over here and there. He desperately needed the wickets. Now, the problem with this being a foregone conclusion is that he has to use the same bowling in the forthcoming matches, all 4 of them.
Okay, you win. Harsha, you win. Well. You win, Harsha. I will not play this 4 plan anymore. There's enough foreplay between us. Let's stop now.
All I can say is for all of you, since I wasn't letting you do it, it was generally the gist of the kind of discussion we were having when we started talking about cricket. And it's come right back to that. So before it degenerates any further, can we move on to talk about how brilliant the openers were? Harsha, I mean, yes, of course, we know Faf du Plessis and what he's capable of. Just go back to the first 2 innings of Ruturaj Gaikwad in this tournament, and you're almost thinking, first 3 innings, I think. And we were all saying, how many chances are you going to give him? And yes, they gave him an extra chance, and he's paid them back with interest.
I mean, even in our commentary box, the first few games were in Mumbai, we were there, and there was some talk, should we get Robin Uthappa back again? You know, how much longer can you give Ruturaj Gaikwad? Is he the same player who scored those 3 half centuries last time? One of the good things in stable outfits, Chennai is a team that that's not very turbulent, that keeps giving people chance. I think Stephen Fleming might have used exactly those words. We're a team that doesn't change very much. We believe in giving chances. And since he's come back, it's, you know, if you're at the ground, you almost wait for a bowler to bowl length or slightly fuller so that you can see that cover drive that Ruturaj Gaikwad plays. He plays it so well, anywhere between extra cover and just in front of point. In that lovely cover drive arc, he plays those shots. But today, you saw him play off the back foot. And I thought, wow, this kid's got another dimension to him. Because I thought his back foot play was excellent today. And I mean, at the moment, if you make your national T20 team, I'm not sure either Padikkal or Gaikwad is actually making that team. But if you had to play against an alternate India 11, Joy, remember the good old days, Australia playing Australia A. If you had to play India versus India A in a T20 game, I wouldn't mind seeing Ruturaj Gaikwad and Devdutt Padikkal open the batting.
And I suspect you'll find a few more names down the order that will also challenge that first team. One more aspect to his batting, Joy, was the fact that, say, someone like Rashid Khan, they had pretty much decided that we're going to give him respect. But he was able to change that respect when he saw maybe something that was not the world's best ball, pitches it slightly short, goes back, and he hits it. So he wasn't afraid to do something like that.
Yeah, look, I think, again, and there are many people much more qualified than me to talk about this, but the way he shifted weight, the way he could, rock back when he thought that the ball was slightly short of length and hit it off the back foot, the way he basically transferred weight between the back foot and the front foot gives him a lot of opportunity to hit shots there. And I think he was so good about it because, hitting Rashid Khan is not just, they could have given him respect and frankly, they had the time to do it. But it was almost like a statement that even we can hit, given the circumstances, given the time is right. And the truth is, they're not often, it's not every time that you're going to be in a situation like this where you can afford to play a bowler out. So I think in that sense, he said, they challenged themselves. And I think he took him on. I mean, Rashid Khan finally got him because Rashid is a great bowler and he's just an amazing, amazing competitor. But I think Ruturaj made his point pretty firmly as well.
And also, Gautam, he's opening with a very accomplished international batsman who I think is very relaxed in life at the moment. I just wonder if Faf getting out of that, and I think we've discussed it briefly as well, Faf getting out of the whole mess that South African cricket is in, being a captain of South Africa through all that and all the pressure. I think he's suddenly saying, freedom. Jule Thompson effect, the gas push suddenly comes out. I'm free. And he's playing like that. This is not the Faf that we used to see earlier on. Faf du Plessis opening with Shane Watson. Watson's going for it. Faf never played these kind of innings. If you see in the last couple of years, and this year especially, he's playing fantastic. I mean, the 0 for 3, what a great way to start. The 36 not out of 33 was in a small run chase, so you could afford to play like that. I think that was when they got Punjab out for 105 or 106. But after that, 33 of 17, 95 of 60, today 56 of 38. Oh, he's batting beautifully, and he's such a versatile player that they can almost take the pressure off each other the way they're going.
And just to throw in, a little bit, he's their gun fielder. I mean, Suresh Raina used to be the one. Jadeja, of course, is. But he matches Jadeja stride for stride when it comes to dashing across the field and taking some stunners.
I'll tell you, Suresh Raina, in many ways, Joy, Suresh Raina is not the player that he was. You cannot expect anyone to be. But Raina's still a good fielder. It's not completely lost him. But having Jadeja and Faf in the same team, and for years, I mean, we talk about Pollard taking those catches at long on. How many has Faf taken there? So Faf and Jadeja are among two of the best fielders in the game today. Yeah, Joy, sorry.
No. And the overall fielding is just lifted. Even Raina, the kind of effort he gives. Raina reminds me of, if you saw Yuvraj Singh after he'd come back after the knee surgery. And Yuvraj was a great fielder at the start of his career. But Yuvraj, even when he didn't have it, every once in a while, he'll make a stop or he'll make a shot. In the 2011 World Cup, then he'll make you say, yeah, the guy still got it. He can't do it every time. Like, today Faf and Jadeja still can do it 9 times out of 10. A Yuvraj or a Raina today will do it maybe 6 times out of 10. But they can still get it done. And I think more than anything else, I think fielding is a lot about how much you put into it and how much effort you're putting in. And it's very clear that this Chennai team has been working very hard in their fielding in the offseason. This is a team that's gone there, got shamed in Dubai, felt that, we are too good a team to have us look like that in the field, and they've made it look right. This is, as of now, I'd have to say, on record, the best fielding team in the IPL right now.
And just to round off this discussion, Harsha, on Cricbuzz Combox, we referred to the fact that this was only the third, something Deepu pulled out for us, only the first time they've had 3 consecutive opening stands in excess of 50 in the history of the tournament.
And also look at the difference between runs and balls in each of those and see how quickly they're getting those runs. Can you imagine the freedom? So today, look at it today, 129 of 79 balls. They're 13 overs. They're going just under 10 and over. Moeen Ali can come and make 15 of 8. It doesn't matter because now you've got 129, means you got another 42, 43 runs to get. You make 1/3 of those in 8 balls, he's free. 15 of 8 means you push the innings forward. 15 of 8 is a partnership of another 20, 22 runs. That means another half of the runs available have been scored at a very rapid rate. That's what it does to the rest of the batting. And then, I know Jadeja only played 1 shot, but the sound that the bat made when he pulled that ball, he is looking ready to bat at 5. I honestly believe he's looking ready in a franchise team to bat at 5.
Yeah, he can do anything at the moment.
And of course, what this means is that, in the movies, you see all these people running around, and in the last scene, you discover that there was one Supremo who was pulling the strings, Supremo. And you don't know who the chief perpetrator is. He's sitting quietly and he's pulling the strings. I think all these performances are allowing MS Dhoni to sit in the background, doesn't need to bat. He's just the Supremo. He's just got all these marionettes he's playing. Okay, Karan, you. Okay, Chahar, you. Moeen, Jadeja. I don't have to do anything. Om Shivpuri used to play those kind of roles in the end. I'm the Supremo.
And he's just in a blink of an eye, he's just mentioned all the big performances that we've had from Chennai. Today, someone like Deepak Chahar, who was taking wickets for fun, didn't even turn up, but it didn't matter because there was enough around for them to do the job with bat and ball.
Sorry to interrupt again. Sorry. I promise I'll never do this again. He's a bit like the Nitish Rana of batting. 80-0, 80-0, 80-0. He goes 4-0, 4-0.
Yeah.
Deepak Chahar goes like that. Okay, that's me for the program.
No, we did make that comparison earlier, and I think it was spot on. Only thing is, I think he broke the sequence today. He was due for 4 today. So we'll have to see what he does next time around. But on the other side, where the problems lie, David Warner, obviously he's been candid, he's been honest, and he said, I take full responsibility for the way I batted. It was really slow. Found a lot of fielders and I got frustrated. You could see there was one image, a shot he hit where he actually had his head bowed to the crease and it was not in celebration. It was in frustration. The way Manish batted was exceptional. Kane got us to a respectable total, but I take full responsibility as it was a total below par. Now, the point is he's used the word frustrating about 5 different times. What is the solution, Joy?
Look, I think he's a great batsman. He has the ability to do it. Somebody will take him aside. Trevor Bayliss is there. There are many people there who will take him aside and said, perhaps you were trying the same stroke so many times. You didn't use the crease very much. You didn't give the bowlers. Just look at Kane Williamson's innings. Look at the 9-10 balls he played. He moved forward. He moved backward. He suddenly moved to the offside. He didn't allow the bowlers to bowl a consistent length. And any bowler in the world, if you move in the crease, it is difficult to get the ball in the same place with respect to you if you're going to keep moving around. And I just think that they didn't do enough of that. I think he and Manish Pandey is equally guilty of not moving around. they were guilty of being reactive instead of being proactive. Now, you can be reactive in a test match where the bowler bowls and then you decide what you want to do it. You cannot be reactive in the white ball version of the game. You have to be proactive. You have to change the bowler's length. You have to do something different. And I think somebody will calmly say, you're too good a batsman to have this done to you. It's never going to happen again. It's an aberration. It's a combination of a lot of things. You haven't been getting runs. You've got a lot of pressure. The team is 1-4. But okay, this is a rubbish innings. You've got it out of the way. Now let's open your mind and let's play freely from here.
What I'd like to see as well is his strike rate in the last couple of years. Because I'm trying to see if there's a correlation between free-stroking captains trying to play differently. We saw Rishabh Pant yesterday. I mean, he was almost at a strike rate of 105 with 2 overs left. But I just wonder if Rishabh Pant is trying to say, this is how Dhoni would have played. He would have taken it all the way to the end. I'll stay in, I'll finish, I'll do a Dhoni here. KL Rahul, he's become captain. Suddenly the strike rate has changed. He's batting very differently. It's almost as if they feel the need to say, I'm captain, therefore I must be responsible. I think leaders are allowed to crack jokes too. There are leaders allowed to go and score 20 of 8 balls. If that is what they are good at doing. If they get out 20 of 9 balls, one day they'll make 50 of 30, 32, 33 balls. And each of these 3 names that I've mentioned are perfectly capable of playing like that. So I just wonder if it is slightly burdened David Warner, because you see Warner up to 2019 when the Warner-Bairstow partnership was on. Hyderabad had good batting pitches. Warner-Bairstow going berserk. I'd love to get Deepu to throw up his strike rates 2020, 2021 and see if there is a different kind of David Warner coming.
Well, we can already tell you, even before that happens, that we do have some numbers at our disposal. Somewhere between 134 and 140 is what the strike rate was in previous seasons, 110 this season. Already a number to compare, Harsha.
And there you go. And some days you can understand, if you're playing in Chennai, you can understand something like that. But as I said, we waited till someone else had batted on this track to discover that it wasn't that kind of innings. Suppose it was tough, you would have said, yeah, that's okay. So now you look at 5 games that the Sunrisers have lost. There's 2 games that Manish Pandey went go slow, and 1 game in which David Warner did. And there's 3 games there for you. So they need someone there to literally, in a room of philosophers discussing the fate of the world, they need someone to sing a body limerick. So... Yeah.
But ironically, when I was listening to both of you, and you were painting the picture of what Kane Williamson did, moving around the crease, anticipating the bowler, that's David Warner. That's the David Warner we remembered, who had a 140 plus strike rate in the seasons even before Harsha mentioned.
David Warner and KL Rahul, if you look at it, have been the biggest batsmen in the IPL in the last 5 years. The fact that they are not scoring or they're scoring at the rate they are is a serious issue. Simply because it's not as if we have to say that, they have potential and they can't do it. We know what they can do. They're still at the prime of their powers. They still have everything. It's just that they're so worried about the rest of their batting or the result of the game that they're just not getting it right. And I think somewhere David Warner, somebody will have to have a serious chat with him and say, need to do something. Give the captaincy to Williamson. Do something. Free yourself, because this is not helping the team. The other thing about it is, it's very interesting because this year, a lot of things. Suppose you're 1-5, okay, and they could well be 1-6 and be out of contention very soon. How do you play the rest of the series? How do you play the rest of the tournament? Because next year is a big, big auction. Everything changes. Players will be retained, very few. Most of it will be a blank slate where you're going to start painting again. What happens then? So how they'll approach it from here on, especially considering that their chances now of qualifying are very low, is interesting for me.
Yeah, well, that is a point to ponder. But on a happier note, which obviously means on a yellow note, we've got the reactions from Faf du Plessis, who was, again, didn't mince his words in terms of the total. He said 170 was a touch under what they needed to get. He's admitting that. He said 190 is the kind of total that would have been challenging. But when you get a start like that, the rest of the innings plays out comfortably. There was good pace on the wicket. It slowed down as the ball got old, but overall a really good cricket wicket. We've got a good balance. We've made some adjustments from last season, and I think it's evident all the adjustments he's talking about, Harsha.
And also, if you see, we kept calling it Dad's Army. But Raina doesn't play like a dad's army, and Raidu doesn't play like a dad's army. I know on paper they are like that, but see who was struggling. Watson was struggling. In his last season, Watson really struggling. Watson's gone. Bravo starting to show signs. Bravo's not playing. Imran Tahir, great bowler. He's taken 150 wickets in his last 3 years. But something, I wonder if he's got the same fizz that he had 2 or 3 years ago. Imran Tahir is not playing, and Dhoni has moved back. Dhoni has moved back to play a different role. So who is in the forefront? Ruturaj Gaikwad's in the forefront. Sam Curran is in the forefront. A rejuvenated du Plessis, Faf, is in the forefront. So you see, slowly the younger people are now starting to come through into the forefront. Deepak Chahar has done well for them a couple of games, but he's been around before as well. So maybe that is what has changed. And Faf is absolutely spot on. Last year, it seemed that for the first 10 overs, they were saying, "Chalo, हाँ picture अभी बाकी शुरू हो जाएगी, चलो और थोड़ा पॉपकॉर्न खाते हैं, अरे यार तेरी जगह कहाँ है, हाँ तू भी आके बैठ जा यार, चलो अभी picture शुरू होगी." But by then 10 overs are gone. So you can see the change very visibly, and the top 3 have a big role to play in the change they've brought about. And they're looking good. At this stage, whoever thought that they would be sort of in fifth gear on their way to qualifying.
And he sets such high standards, does Faf. At the end, of course, you can never be shy of a cheeky comment from him. He said, "Yeah, I'm a little disappointed in my fielding because I'm not getting enough catches coming my way. Jaddu's stealing the show. He's Superman. All I had was that one. What do I do?"
Yeah, true.
But
very often also that's in response to the question. Yeah,
it is.
He's got a sense of humor.
It is, and you can just see that it's probably the sense of humor that's allowed to come out when you've got that camaraderie and the winning feeling, the right balance in the dressing room, and it's all auguring well for the men in yellow. But just the problems that they have to address, Joy, you've already touched upon it. You mentioned Williamson briefly, almost in passing. It seems ready-made that you have a replacement captain ready. They're not the worst replacement in the world, you'd say?
No. That's a World Cup winning, besides a throw that hit a bat and went on for 4. Captain is a pretty good captain. It's a pretty good captain to have, one of the calmest individuals in the game, somebody who doesn't allow pressure to come anywhere close to him. The year he was given captaincy and given the reins, scored some 735 odd runs, did a superb job. It's a no-brainer for me. It's an absolute, total no-brainer for me, especially because Warner's struggling the way he is. But again, these things are made out of a lot of things. And, Williamson's the kind of guy who's never going to step out and said, I'm going to take that. It's all about the team deciding as this thing that is there too much pressure on Warner at this point in time. Warner thinking about it, Warner deciding what he wants to do with it. So there are a lot of factors, I think, which are involved. And I think, again, like their counterparts who are also from Chennai in that sense, Hyderabad, Hyderabad also tend to be a very grateful team. They're very grateful for people who have done stuff for them. And I think they regard somebody like David Warner as one of their stalwarts, somebody who's won them a championship, who's done very good things for them. So again, like Dhoni in Chennai, they're the kind of people who say, David, it's your decision. It's yours to think about. What do you want to do? How do you want to do it? We'll back you in whatever you do. Because that's the way these guys play.
We South Indians are just like that by nature, We're just South Indians. But the funny thing is, the two people.
Harsha, you've classified yourself as a Hyderabadi now?
No, I'm South Indian. I'm a Marathi-speaking South Indian. Culturally, in the way I think I'm South Indian. Anyway, but that's before we now start getting people to find things within that statement.
I can see Twitter going berserk right now, Harsha.
The funny thing is that this team has 3 Australians at the helm. You got Moody, Bayliss, and Warner at the helm. So there's one clear chance. Clearly, New Zealand has no chance of making it there. No, but jokes aside, I think we've got to look at this carefully. Warner has delivered them 4 finishes, 4 qualifications in 5 years. 1 year he didn't play. Right? Or did he not play 2 years? He didn't play 1 year. But also, they've got to figure out if Warner's strike rate and the runs are a function of his leadership or a function of something else. Is Kane Williamson becoming captain suddenly going to open up a new world for Warner? Or are we reading too much into 2 or 3 performances from someone who's probably been the best batsman along with Gale, probably been the best batsman in the IPL? So I think there's enough cool heads over there. And also the Aussies tend to support, cut. So they'll take a call. But yeah, Joy is absolutely right. At this stage, 1-5. No, they're in tug of war, when you just start to move and now there's no one holding you back, they're at that stage.
But just to finish off this discussion and picking up from what Harsha said and looking at these results, yes, it may be that Australian triumvirate, it may be Warner's own way of thinking and how he reacts to it. But for me, my first reaction is, if you change captain, you manage to rest Warner for a couple of games, you have people on the bench who are there. I know we've talked about 21 players used, but there is a Jason Holder, there is a Mohammad Nabi. So there are replacements who will be able to stand in and do enough for that team. The only question is, how do they feel the balance going? And what does Warner think is the reason? Is it the burden of captaincy?
Again, I don't think they need Warner to necessarily sit out. I think Warner can play as well. I think it's a matter of Warner just not being captain.
Yeah.
And just saying that, okay, look, relax, don't be captain, go play your natural game. It's okay. Williamson's coming in at 4. And again, I'd make that adjustment immediately. I'd say, you know what, Manish, well played, but you're still taking too many balls to get going. Williamson's going to come in at 3. I'm sorry. We can't afford to have you play so many balls. You're going to come in at 4. Williamson's going to come in at 3, because really one of you guys needed to accelerate. Or you can do it the other way around, which is that play those two and say that if Bairstow gets out, then Williamson comes in. Okay. If Bairstow stays, then they can afford to bring in a Manish Pandey.
Fair point. Maybe I was just jumping the gun and tossing Warner out.
No, Joy is stirring the pot. Joy's got 2 giant ladles, and Joy is stirring the pot. And yeah,
Harsha, it's not giant ladles. It's 2 wooden spoons he's stirring it with.
4 wooden spoons with his forehead.
But let's just confirm that. The numbers will tell you that. This is where the men in orange stand, right at the bottom there. The only team on 2 points. Never mind the net run rate. 6 games played, just the 1 victory, and already getting into the mathematical possibilities of not being able to qualify. That's fast coming there. Chennai, in contrast, after today's win, right on top with a very healthy net run rate, plus 1.475. But once you've got the points on the board, that shouldn't play a part anymore. What it means is the busy schedule continues as we go into another midweek double header. Delhi's going to be a busy place because they've just started wrapping things up and mopping up after the end of this game, and they've got to be ready for an afternoon start. An afternoon game in Delhi. That's going to be Mumbai against Rajasthan, match number 24. We'll discuss that, and then we'll tell you what is coming up at night from Ahmedabad. Joy, again, we're talking about not necessarily contrasting points in the table, but a confident Mumbai side and a Rajasthan side desperately clinging on for dear life.
I wouldn't say it's a confident Mumbai side, because they've had a few. Mumbai's used to slow starts, but they never like being 2 and 3. Being in that situation is something that they will not enjoy. And they lost at least a couple of games that they thought they should have won. And I say that this Mumbai side is also looking at themselves and saying that, you know what, the way we lost to Punjab, especially the way they lost, they look at themselves and say that, you know what, I think we need to deliver what is a convincing performance out here. So I think Mumbai also has something there. And I think the way Rajasthan's going to come is Rajasthan's got 4 international players. They're literally out with a begging bowl saying, if you can loan us players, they're in that kind of shape. But that, sometimes really works in your favor. There's no pressure on them. Nobody's going to say anything to them. 4 international players, most of their top players injured. They've come in here. Their young captain, rookie captain in that sense, just starting this year in the IPL, they will give it their best shot and walk off. So the pressure is on Mumbai, and that's a situation that they're not used to.
Make very valid point about the Punjab. That Punjab defeat, that should have been 2 points for Mumbai. If you're a champion side, you're 2-time in a row, you won the tournament 5 out of 8. That Punjab result, especially the manner in which they played that Punjab game, would hurt. I still think, let's see if it's the same surface. It's an afternoon game. If the ball does stop a little in an afternoon game, then Rajasthan are in business, because they've got Sakaria, they've got Unatkat, they've got Mustafiz. They have those kind of players to play on that surface. If it's a nice, good surface, then I think Mumbai will quite enjoy that. But it's absolutely imperative. You saw that points table. on that points table, Mumbai need to make it 3-3. Because the moment they make it 2-4, now they're jostling with a Kolkata. They make it 3-3, then they've got a couple of strides ahead of Kolkata. And then teams like Rajasthan, we will have lost one more. Teams like Rajasthan and Hyderabad will start feeling the heat and the distance even more. So very important game, this in the middle of the tournament for Mumbai.
Yeah, certainly is. I think, probably not the right choice of words when I built up to the game saying confident Mumbai side. You somehow just tend to think of them as, even if they've lost a few early in the tournament, there's nothing that can possibly go wrong. We're going to get there. How we'll get there, we'll figure out, but we're okay. But I guess the points table doesn't quite reflect that. Let's look at the teams. What could Mumbai possibly do? Again, one of the teams who don't make changes. They don't need to make too many changes other than tactical ones. So quick look at this champion squad. The only one change that they had in the last couple of games was the introduction of Jayant Yadav, who came in. We've seen Adam Milne playing early on in the tournament. Marco Jansen very early in the tournament, but you could see that, it was a bit of an experiment. Harsha, your take on possible changes because of a new venue?
I'm just thinking Rajasthan, Butler, big hitter if he gets in. Samson, big hitter if he gets in. Two right-hander, big hitters. Do they still want Jayant? I know Jayant Yadav has played well for them when it's been asked of him, but whether they want to play Jayant Yadav or bring back an overseas quick, either Jansen or Milne, bring back an overseas quick. So my gut feel is they might do that in Mumbai, in Delhi, depending on the surface. If they think there's a little bit in the surface, they'll get back an overseas quick. But I think they've now reached a stage where they want Quinton de Kock and Ishan Kishan to start playing freely and putting the runs on board, because both of them have struggled in this year's tournament. So for Mumbai, it's clear. Get Quinton de Kock in form, get Ishan Kishan in form, get a win that says, you know what, we are Mumbai, we are the team everyone's supposed to be worried about. Every single person said Mumbai was the favourites going into the tournament. Let's go and deliver a performance worthy of being favourites.
For someone of the class of a Quinton de Kock, for someone of the free-spirited nature of an Ishan Kishan, what's the kind of thing you'd expect, Joy, that may be nudged to them in that change room?
I think, again, they have a very calm changing room. I mean, you cannot find calmer people than Shane Bond, Mahela Jayawardene, than Zahir Khan. So they just said, just go and do your processes. Rohit Sharma, just do your processes. Be calm, be cool. It's going to come. It will come. It's going to come. Just feel it. Feel good about it. It'll happen. And I completely concur with Harsha. This is not a ground on which they play Jayant Yadav. Secondly, if your opponents have a lot of Indian domestic batsmen in their middle order, whether it's a Samson or whether it's somebody like Riyan Parag or Tewatia, they would fancy somebody like a Jayant Yadav. Let's say fancy their chances. They wouldn't fancy an Adam Milne that much as they would fancy somebody like a Jayant Yadav.
Or a Marco Jansen.
Yeah, either of these guys, I think, will be more of a handful. Marco Jansen may be interesting because the kind of bounce he gets. But remember, that kind of bounce in Delhi gives you a lot of top-edge sixes. Delhi is again one of those small grounds, top-edge, it just flies off. So, Milne or Marco Jansen, definitely. I can't see any other changes in their batting order because everyone else is an essential who needs to get going. May have not got going as yet, but they're not going to do any changes for that right now.
I mean, the one only reason to play Jayant Yadav could be David Miller and Shivam Dubey. But Rajasthan desperately need to move beyond Butler and Samson, or Jaiswal's also left-hander, because Dubey, Miller, Tewatia, Parag, they're not inspiring fear yet in the opposition. So they've got to be careful over there Rajasthan. I mean, I have no doubt in my mind Mumbai start favourites. But if Rajasthan upset them, wow, the rest of the teams will be going, yes, Rajasthan, yes, we'll loan you as many players as you want. Just get past Mumbai.
Yeah, I think from a tournament perspective, it'll do a lot for that middle of the table and open things up. But just to go back to that, I think one of the big pluses, Joy, for Rajasthan, with all the losses they've had, all the problems they've had, is Yashasvi Jaiswal. Even though it was a brief stay, at least they've seen that, okay, fine, they can separate Butler and Samson, get somebody who can just throw open the bowling. And then they have obviously the problems of no overseas players to choose from.
Yeah, but sometimes, those situations actually work for you because you know that your back's to the wall, there's nowhere to go. So the only way is forward. And I think Yashasvi is a player who again gives them something. It's like what we didn't see from Virat Singh, but we've seen from Ruturaj, that you've seen somewhere there that they belong at this level. And I think they play a couple of strokes and they belong at this level. They can dominate bowling at this level. They may not every day, but on their day, they might be able to do it. And I think Yashasvi's done enough to show that. I think they have to bat. They have to be the guys who are like, you know what? If all the other 6 teams are backing us, because they are. Everyone else would love to see Mumbai trip over, lose confidence. And if somehow Mumbai can't make it to the playoffs, the other teams would be, visiting every temple in the vicinity. But that's what it is. So everyone else is backing them. They need to go and get just one big, strong hit at it and see where they get.
Well, in terms of matchups, we did sort of keep it in suspense for a moment. That's the afternoon game in Delhi. Double header tomorrow. It's going to be a matchup that we're going to see twice in a week. Twice in a week at the same venue. Delhi are going to be playing Kolkata in Ahmedabad twice in a week. So this is the first of the 2 fixtures. And, well, again, in terms of the table, Harsha, we know they're separated at 2 ends of the table. Yes. Huge for Kolkata, this particular game.
And they're coming off a win. They're coming off a win where the captain scored runs. I think that's important. They're coming off a win where the captain scored runs. It was a scrappy-ish game, but at least the captain scored runs. I'm just trying to look down the scorecard of that game. 126, they struggled chasing 123. They got 126, lost wickets up at the top. Shubman Gill is a huge issue for them. Just that top order, Shubman Gill, Nitish Rana. Nitish Rana has plateaued off, and Rahul Tripathi is very good. He'll play these little cameos. Sunil Narayan's not the batsman that he was. So suddenly, they're finding that one of the lower order has to move up, and that's why I think they'll be very happy with the way Morgan played. So they've come off a 1-run defeat. Delhi have come off a 1-run defeat. I look at Joy in the other window, and he said, "What?" So a very, very important game for Kolkata. It's a day on which the difference between Mumbai and Kolkata could get lengthened a little bit. At the moment, they've got a game in hand, but if Mumbai win, Kolkata lose, then there's a bit of a separation between the top 4 and the bottom 4.
Yeah, and that's what we are talking about. Let's have a look at that. That squad, and I think Harsh has made some valid points about that top order, because that is where the runs were coming from. Owen Morgan sort of rescued them almost, in a sense. I keep asking the question. I'll probably ask it one last time, Joy. Sunil Narayan, if he's in the team, let him open the batting.
I think they've gone too far down this path. They don't want to change because they don't want to break the confidence, and they've won a game. The fact of the matter is, as a batting unit, I don't know what else they can change. They can change the orders around a bit. I'd definitely like to see, Morgan coming in early. Definitely not. If he not 5, definitely at least 4, if not 3. I'd like to see Karthik also 1 position up. All those are things that you can expect from this team that can happen. But you look down and you say, Karun Ryan has not played a game so far. Are they going to walk in and allow him to play a game now and suddenly get set? I don't think it's going to happen. So whatever board changes that they could be making, they could be looking at the boarding and saying, do we make any changes here? What I'd love to see against this Delhi team is, I'd say that, one of Mavi, I know Mavi bowled well last time, one of Mavi or Prasidh Krishna, I'd turn around and say, should I give Kuldeep Yadav a run? It's Ahmedabad, he does something, it's something different. Let me give these guys something to think about. Right now, Kolkata bowling has been disciplined. It hasn't looked particularly penetrative, to be honest with you.
If Andre Russell can give you 3 overs, 4 overs, you can gamble with Kuldeep. The other problem with someone like Sunil Narayan going top of the order is they're playing against Delhi. And even if they don't play Nokia, even if they play the same side, that's Rabada, Avesh, Ishant. Rabada and Avesh are quick. They will pepper Sunil Narayan, and Ishant Sharma wouldn't mind bouncing a few either. So against that team, and if Nokia plays, there's serious pace there. I watched a couple of games only, Pakistan versus South Africa, and funny, there was a pattern there that Pakistan started out well. Nokia would come just after the power play or towards the end of the power play, and boom, 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 he'd pick up 3 wickets and have batsmen hopping. So I think they're just waiting for Nokia to be fit to play. If he comes in, there's no way they're sending Sunil Narayan up. If there's that kind of side.
Well, there's one interesting one. There was one other option, a pace option for Kolkata and Lockie Ferguson, but I think that for the moment will have to wait with the balance of the team as it is. For Delhi...
Lockie for Sunil? Lockie for Sunil Narayan? What do you think?
Lockie for Sunil, I'd think about it. I'd think about it because, again, yeah, it's a front foot move. I mean, again, it's an aggressive move, and I think Kolkata needs to be aggressive now. They can't play defensive. They need to be aggressive. I think Lockie for Sunil, and that's the only place he can go. And that's the only logical change you can make, which can improve things. I'd also try and throw, somebody like Kuldeep Yadav in and say, okay, here's the mix. Let's take it. 2 new bowlers. Just give the Delhi batsmen a little bit to think about. Let's see what happens.
Well, the inevitable question for Delhi has already been asked. Shall we try and answer it? Does Nokia make it into that 11 or doesn't he? On the assumption that the fitness issue has been dealt with, we saw Tom Curran early in the tournament, we saw Chris Wokes early in the tournament. Now we've seen Ishant Sharma come in and look so good. So you're not really tampering with those Indian bowlers. So if Nokia has to come in, there was one brief spot up for grabs, Harsha, in terms of Shimron Hetmyer. That just said goodbye last match. So the only spot left is Steve Smith.
Correct. If Nokia comes in, then they have to play Rahane for Steve Smith. So, and Nokia comes in for either Avesh or Ishant, both of whom had a pretty decent game. I mean, I'm just looking at the scorecard of that game. How did those two go? Avesh 4 was 1 for 24, and Ishant 4 was 1 for 26. I mean, both of them are bowling all right. So they might just stay with that combination and give them one more game and say, let's just go a little harder up at the top. I mean, if Prithvi Shaw fires at the top, it's just a different side.
Yeah, I just don't. And Steve Smith, for me, has not set the Sabarmati on fire as yet, or any other river that he's been on.
No, and it's summer. There's not much of a Sabarmati left.
There isn't much of a Sabarmati to look at either. But yeah, that's my point. I don't think they have this. I would like to see Rahane in there because I really think Steve Smith is not giving them enough. And more than that, I don't think Steve Smith, other than, flashes, is not looking the part. And this happened last year as well. If you remember, there was that one match where Steve Smith was captaining. I think he was captaining. And he sort of tried to move around the crease and he got out. And it was the way he got out rather than his getting out, which was a surprise. He seemed as if he was unsettled. He didn't seem like the master batsman he was. And I think Rahane deserves a chance at this point in time, because if you get in Nokia and you can play him regularly, it just changes a lot of things. Every side will be scared of that Delhi attack.
I mean, left field, you could play Lalit Yadav. It was very impressive the way Lalit Yadav played the other day.
Actually, yes, you could play Lalit Yadav and not play Rahane at all. Exactly. You could play Lalit Yadav, move the batting units up one place, and it would work just as well.
Yeah, that particular incident that we were thinking of was against Pat Cummins, when he just suddenly played a stroke out of the blue. And it wasn't just that one ball. It had a knock-on effect as far as Steve Smith went in the tournament. But we'll see if Delhi do go for those changes and how they view each other as an opposition. They're going to play each other twice, as I said. Joy, before you give us our little trivia answer, we were having a little discussion earlier when I was paid this glowing compliment about an advertising person coming out. We wanted to set another fact straight, didn't we?
Yeah, I think there are a few other advertising people out here. I don't know. The IIM Ahmedabad batch of the 80s produced another person, chemical engineer from Osmania University.
Oh, not the chemical engineer, the other guy. I'll tell you his name. Santosh Desai.
Yeah, Santosh Desai is all good with Santosh Desai, but the chemical engineer from Osmania also went on to rediffusion, if I remember right. How was that career in advertising? How did you enjoy it, Harsha? How was the 2 years?
Outstanding. 2 outstanding years. We were, it was a time when you had to do media planning yourself, you had to do account planning yourself, you had these whiz creative guys, you had to go and say, so please, Mr. Kamlesh Pandey, when you're through with writing Tezab and everything, can you write one jingle for me? And he'll look at you and say, okay, acha, garib lag raha hai, bacha, chalo, I'll give you one. So it was, I worked there for 2 years, I'm still on the WhatsApp group, but I think this is about cricket. So.
I wish I'd been in that agency. I wish in where I worked, they didn't treat creative people like that. If there was an ad needed on a Tuesday afternoon, we were told on a Friday evening that it's needed on Saturday morning. So bye weekend.
No, so if I said that, it was bye you. I mean, look at what people like them. Kamlesh Pandey went on to do Tezab. He wrote some lovely song, Thoda Sa Rumani Ho Jaye. He wrote lovely. I think he did a lot of Pankaj Parashar films. They just thought differently. I'll tell you how it benefited. Because I came into sports journalism from advertising, I realized that you had to be catchy and you had to get attention. So, yeah. Anyway, sure.
All right, there we go. We've got a headline.
So
Harsha Bhogle admits to being an attention grabber.
That autobiography, Harsha, needs to be written. Autobiography. Not your writings about cricket and all that. That story of a kid from
Did you plan this?
That kid from Hyderabad going on to Begumpet School, from there Osmania, that bit of cricket, that commentary, that part of advertising, sports, commentating, that journey needs to be written. There's so many people waiting.
Harsha, we are media planners plan. We are creative people. We just come out on the spur of the moment.
Nonsense. Joy will just pull out one book from behind.
Anyway, that's what you see. We can get the variety of topics of conversation we can get. Some we can let you into, some we won't let you into. Meanwhile, back to the joy factor question and the answer to the much awaited long question.
Okay, here's the question. This Indian cricketer made his debut in the same test as a player who later made an ODI record, and one of his teammates in that test has made his debut before this cricketer was born. Name the cricketer. And the answer you guys have come up with, and here, just watch the fun. The answer I had when I was planning this question, because it is the 28th of April, is, can we have the answer out there, please? Lakshmanan Shivak Ramakrishnan made his debut today in 1983 with Winston Davis in the other team. And if you remember, for a long time, Winston Davis, with 7 for 51 in the World Cup, held the record for the most number of ODI wickets in a particular innings. After that, I think it was Chavinda Awaz who broke that record, was it? Yeah. Chavinda Awaz broke that record, many others did. And Venkat Raghavan was his teammate in that match, in that test match. And of course, Venkat Raghavan made his debut. Shivaramakrishnan was born on the 31st of December 1965. Venkat made his debut in March 1965. Here's the beauty of it. That's what I thought was the answer, and it is the correct answer. And lo and behold, the moment I get onto Twitter 5 minutes after the match to check the correct answers, this is what it turns out. There is another situation like this. Mohammad Shami and Rohit Sharma made their debut in the same test in 2013. And of course, in that test, Sachin Tendulkar was also playing. Sachin Tendulkar made his debut before Mohammad Shami was officially born. So that is also a correct answer.
Officially born. I tell you, Joy just drops these words just like that.
Okay, so the guys who get that, so that's also a perfectly acceptable correct answer. And that first answer was given by, let's have a look at who's given the first correct answer. Bharat Reddy, he's on a streak, I think. What has he got? Two in a row?
Three total. 2 in a row and 3 total.
Wow. So this is the Rohit Yadav of 2021.
Yeah, there's a Bharat Reddy I know who was banged between the Venkat Raghavan and the Sivaramakrishnan generations in Chennai.
You know, we just spoke about him yesterday, about his tour of 1979 and his association with Kemplast and, you know, all that he did out there.
He did 4 test matches in 79. Surinder Khanna played the one day as Bharat Reddy played the test because Kirmani had been left out because of, supposedly, because of her little flirtation towards Kerry Packer.
Well. All these little sidelights that we are finding. But hey, we did ask you, Bharat Reddy. You were supposed to give us the answers, but also tell us if you were actually named after that Indian wicketkeeper. And if you were, let us know. If you weren't, well, there's an education into a different generation of Indian cricket. No matter what the generation, you will have information, analysis, and all kinds of cricketing extras, cricketing pluses on Cricbuzz Plus that you subscribe to, and it'll all come your way. And the thing I'm most looking forward to is Harsha in conversation on Cricbuzz Conversations. If you enjoyed season 1, well, look forward to season 2. It's going to be on Cricbuzz Plus. Well, once again, yesterday it was a cliffhanger. Today, not quite, but we had lots to talk about with what's coming up. But 11 minutes before midnight, we make it out, gentlemen. So thank you, Harsha. Enjoy your time back at the ground. Thank you, Joy. And we'll see all of you very soon on Cricbuzz Live, brought to you in association with our fantasy partner, My 11 Circle.